Hi guys. Hi everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome to Stories Hosts. And today we have the amazing Devina Dicarlo. We're just going to wait for Devina to join. Welcome everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome to Stories Hosts. Happy Monday to you all. Oh, Devina is time. Hi guys, hope you're well. You're welcome. Hi, Devina. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm really well. You are so prompt. It's so good to have you so quickly. Happy Monday to you. I hope you had a good weekend.
Thank you. I had a lovely weekend. It was really, really nice. Busy, but really good. How about
Good,
you?
good. Well, Liz, I am going to do a very small opening, a little bit about you, and just welcoming everybody who's joining us. Today we have Devina Dicarlo. Devina is an entrepreneur. She is an e-commerce growth specialist, and she is a business growth consultant. She was a co-founder of Aurora London, the amazing luxury handbag brand, and she works with small luxury online businesses right through to exit. You spent over 10 years working in PR and management for leading companies, and you then went on and founded two companies. So I am delighted to have you with us, and I'm really looking forward to listening to your story, hearing a little bit about you, how you came from the PR background and the comfort of a PR background, and then stepped into the work as a founder. So, Devina, can you let us know a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for that opener. I graduated with a business degree and went straight into corporate communications, and I worked for a leading PR agency in-house across so many different well-known brands, consumer goods brands. And then I made the move into fashion and beauty, which is where my passion really lay. And I always looked for opportunities where I could add value, where I could build something up. So when I went and joined Shiseido, I was their first ever in-house PR, and it was really building the brand up from the ground up. It's an incredible brand with so much heritage, 150 years in beauty, and their products were very much loved, but no one really knew about them. And, you know, I was able to build that story for them, you know, building features in the Evening Standard about how Madonna loved it, and we launched a product called Body Creator, and it was one of Selfridge's fastest ever beauty launches, with one selling every 16 seconds. And that was all down to PR. So it was really nice to be able to see the kind of wider impact of PR on a business.
Yeah.
And then I was there for a good few years, and via Coty, I then went to LVMH, where I headed up the PR for Givenchy Beauty. And a similar story there, great brand, so much heritage, but was really languishing in the industry PR tables. So it was a real build-up opportunity again to really take the brand from a really low position to a very prominent beauty brand. You know, and it's so hard in beauty when you're fighting against the likes of the big
Yeah.
brands that we know and love that have huge advertising budgets.
Yeah.
But to compete against that on a sole PR budget was really exciting. And I had an amazing team who helped me achieve that. And then I got to a stage where I was like, I'm working so hard and putting so much in. And I always knew I wanted to create my own thing. And I think I just got to the point where I felt I was ready. I was ready to make the move. And I also met my business partner at LVMH as well.
I know. So, gosh, I mean, your story is incredible because you were there for, for 10 years, isn't that correct? And you had built that really, your background in PR, etc. You had really built a very sturdy career. But then your co-founder decided to move on and actually to co-found a brand. The first one was Fresh Attitude, isn't that right?
That's right.
Oh,
So
what made you do that? Why leave the comfort, of a salary, etc., and then step out?
a bit of naivety, a bit of stupidity, but also, if I'm honest with you, I come from a really entrepreneurial background where everyone is self-employed. So I always did know that I wanted to go down that route, but I did feel that I needed to get a certain level of experience, life experience, business experience, work experience in order to do it successfully. And I was, I didn't have a family at that stage. Sarah was in the same position. We just met our husbands, but we weren't married. And we just decided to go for it. We really believed in ourselves. We really believed that we had something different to offer. And so we set up Fresh Attitude Events. It was a communications agency. We had nothing though. We had at that time our Blackberries, some business cards that we'd printed, but we had a very clear vision of what we wanted to achieve. And we just slowly built that up. We specialized in fashion and beauty. We didn't have any backhanders or any favors from the brands that we worked with. And we really had to pitch for events. And we were able to take on the likes of Elizabeth Arden, Shiseido became a client, LVMH brands became a client, and we were really able to build that up. And they became our clients for the best part of 10 years. And we held on to their business. But, it wasn't a case of getting their business and keeping it for 10 years. We'd have to repitch every year. We would have to go into competitive pitches with really leading agencies, some of which held royal warrants. So it was really tough, but it was amazing. Yeah. But we were just traveling all the time. One event would mean 4 to 5 trips because most of our events, without having planned it, were always in Europe, mainland Europe. So we were traveling non-stop. We were always on the go. And straight after you finished one event, you'd be on to the next one. So it was quite a challenging time for us.
I'm sure. And it's lovely because there's a few different areas I'd love to really pick your brain about to share with our followers. But one of the things that I love what you do now, and I'll go into it a little bit more later, but you help small businesses, luxury businesses, grow their brand, get them ready for either a raise or exit later on down the line. So I want to talk about that because what's your next journey after Fresh Attitude, that experience is what actually brings you knowledge and to be able to help small businesses on their journey. So I know everybody will know Aurora London, absolutely beautiful. How did you go from Fresh Attitude to then a handbag company? So what was the thought pattern there?
So we both, Sarah and I, loved handbags. So I've always been a bag girl over a shoe girl. I have weird feet that I always used to find difficult to squeeze into tight shoes. But bags, you can be wearing anything and a bag will suit you. So we always felt that, there was we kind of, we'd always rewarded ourselves, both of us, me particularly, with a bag after I'd achieved something big. I'd save up, buy something amazing, buy a Chanel bag, buy a YSL bag, and feel like my money was going into something great. But there came a point where, once we started our families, once our financial commitments changed, you don't have that kind of budget to drop all the time on a bag. Yeah. But we felt that there wasn't anything in the market that kind of we thought was chic, really well made, a little bit not so bling with the big, label across it, in that kind of mid-price section. And using our kind of brand building knowledge and our kind of knowledge of artisanal expertise from LVMH, we felt there was a gap in the market. There was nothing like it at the time. And we knew that D2C was really growing, and the kind of handbag range that was, £0 to £200 crossbody, that was just exploding. So we did a lot of research into it, but we knew what we were looking for because, I was very exacting in my standards. A bag, you can't show the stitching. It needs to be made inside out. The hardware needs to be of a certain weight. The colors need to be right. So many things that I felt that, you know, probably very naively, I felt that I knew, and I knew that other women like me would want.
Yeah.
And so we embarked on a journey. We found an amazing atelier in southern Spain, which is the home of artisanal handbag making. And we found an atelier that really believed in our vision. They were a family-run business. They made bags for Carolina Herrera, Loewe, Mother of Pearl, and they just really liked us and what we wanted to try and do. So they agreed to work with us. And so we started small. We created a really small range, and our first bag, the Willow bag, we launched with in November 2014, and we did a promotion with Sheer Luxe, and Georgie Coleridge Cole was always an amazing champion of the brand, but you know, we just left it to them to run an editorial, which we paid for. It was an advertorial, but they likened it to a Celine bag, and we sold out of all the stock literally within the first 2 days. And that was not planned. You know, we had a really small WordPress website because we were bootstrapping from one business to the next. So we just wanted to, we were in that test of concept phase where we're trying to work out, is this going to work, or is it just us thinking it will? And it did.
Yeah, it's amazing because you mentioned a few things there, obviously, about Sheer Luxe and Georgie. And I think it's really important to get champions behind you. But you started at a time when actually, you know, Instagram was only starting out. You know, influencers were only beginning. So, and obviously you mentioned there D2C and all that direct to consumer. You were the very first luxury handbag company that went to see. Now, was that something that you had planned, or was that something that was definitely your focus?
That was definitely what we planned, and we knew that that was the way forward. And also, you know, that helped us as well, that we'd been through this huge high impact journey with Fresh Attitude, and we wanted something where we could be a bit more faceless and in the background. And we set the business up so that, you know, eventually we could build on it and it would run really efficiently by outsourcing the major functions, which is what we ended up doing. But I think that, you know, Georgie is very, very discerning, and quite rightly so. That's how she's built such an amazing business. But she loved that we had the right product. I think she respected the product and the product quality, and that we hadn't cut corners, and that the lower price offering, because I think that was one of our stumbling blocks at the beginning. People were quite surprised by the product versus the price, because it was, you know, at the time where D2C, as you said, was quite new.
Yeah, absolutely. But to step out and be, you know, the very first, so the fact that you found the most beautiful factory to bring in your leathers and then create these wonderful bags and just have them believe in your story and what they wanted, you know, they believed in you guys. It is such amazing, you know, when we talk about having those champions behind you and really, really supporting you. So in terms of starting the business, you had a little bit of idea of marketing, well, a lot of ideas on marketing and PR, but how then did it snowballed quite quickly? So you know, you had spoke to me about, you had 3 great products, and so what advice would you give somebody? That would you say start off small and then let it grow, or what was your findings in that?
I think that there are a few things that are really intrinsic to having a good business that can grow. And it's funny because I've spoken to a lot of businesses recently, and it's not always something that's that obvious to people, that product market fit. Until you get that right, you're not going to have a successful launch. And if you do, it might be a little bit piecemeal, but your luck will run out because, you know, you won't be able to grow it. So we had an excellent product made to really high standards using the best materials we could afford. I mean, there were gaps. For example, you know, a designer bag would use heavy brass hardware. So we didn't go down that route, but we used the next best thing. And we used our leather quality just slowly. We used better and better quality leather. So it was definitely that. Instagram was at a stage, as you mentioned earlier, where it was still growing. So when we first launched, it was tragic pictures of me and my business partner, you know, with the bag. And it was easier then to gift to influencers. And if you gifted to the right influencers who could get behind you,
Yeah.
it would really help grow your kind of awareness, the word of mouth. We did things like Spirit of Christmas, the House and Garden Spirit of Christmas Fair. And then I was really tactical about PR because that was my background. I didn't do the PR myself because I didn't want to be involved so much in that because it takes so long and having so many other parts of the business that I needed to turn my attention to. But we were really tactical. So we knew exactly who our customer was and what she'd be reading. So people like Sue Pitt used to run You Mail on Sunday, Harper's Bazaar, Anna, the fashion director at the Times, they all got behind the brand.
Yeah.
And they really respected what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
And it was those things. But if we didn't have the right product, they would never have gotten behind us.
Be likened also as like a Celine bag. Like that's such an honor, you know.
I know, because I'm a Celine fan. I have
Yeah,
old Celine.
I know.
So to be told that.
Yes. And also, do you know, it's great that you were able to have that PR because obviously now you work with small businesses and you help get them, you know, to help them build a really successful brand. And then you started out when it was very little social media, very little influencing. How do you think social media benefits young businesses today, especially when they're working with really tight budgets? You know, so if you were to say, is it something that you would invest in today if you were to launch?
Definitely. But I think there are other components of the business that are equally really important. So we've talked about product, having the right environment. So a good website. We went through 3 iterations, WordPress, Magento, then through to Shopify. So being able to shop the product easily, quickly, that's really important. Yeah. Equally, a lot of, you know, we partnered with a third-party fulfillment, which is one of the leading third-party fulfillment centers in the UK, and they do worldwide shipping. So, you know, when we used to get orders from Hawaii and New Zealand, we'd be able to turn them around same day. And that, you know, is what kept customers coming back. We had a really responsive customer care person who was at the end of the phone virtually 24/7. And I think these things gave people trust in an independent brand. And you know, today when I shop and I see other independent brands and I see the things that they're not doing, I just think it's so much harder to gain customers' trust.
Yes.
And get them to become a loyal customer and then talk about your brand. So I think those things are super, super important. And then obviously social media is what can help you mushroom that kind of effect and get the halo effect and really get your products in front of an international audience quickly.
Oh gosh, absolutely. So as we said, that it really snowballed really quickly with you and your business started to really scale. You had to look at how do I creating, how do I, you know, keep maintaining this? So talk a little bit about that because we know that you you exited 2021, isn't that right?
Yes. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about from it snowballed with the 3 champion products that you
just,
and then
sorry.
Go ahead.
It just grew really quickly. It was very slow organic growth at first. And when I say slow, I'm talking in VC terms. But in normal terms, it was just growing really, really fast. But what our biggest, and it's funny, I always get asked this question today, what was your biggest factor holding you back? And it was because we were self-financed. So we were front running all the business costs, you know, purchasing the leathers, purchasing the hardware, paying for the manufacturing in the factory before the bags are sold. And these are like 6-figure costs that you're paying before you've made any sales. And it's really terrifying. But we were just constantly on that loop. And because we were innovating, not so much in terms of new bags, but in terms of colorways and limited editions, that's how we kept it fresh, because our idea was always to have a very kind of concise and compact product portfolio, but was just to keep bringing out limited editions. And once they were gone, they were gone.
Yeah.
And that it was really expensive. So we had one opportunity for a raise in around 2018, but I just had a baby then, and Sarah was snowed under, and you know, it was a really, probably a bit naive, but we decided not to go for it because we were like, we're onto a good thing here. Let's retain 100% of our company and just keep growing it ourselves. We went through a litigation, a very expensive litigation with a brand that tried to rip off our brand. We had to get like consultants involved, and we went through so many different things, all self-financed, and it just became really hard because what was happening is the brand was being likened to, you know, and put in the same boat as really big brands, but obviously we didn't have their budgets.
I know what
So
that's like. And it really is tiring as well. You get really tired very quickly because you know, obviously stories are self-financed also. And, you know, you realize you're putting your own money into this, but you're competing with, you know, the Le Labos, the Byredos, but they're all owned by L'Oreal's and Estee Lauders. And you're like, how do you ever make it work? And a bit like yourself, you get into this loop where you're just trying to bring product out. But you know, what does that raise look like? Did people approach you, or did you go through a process?
So, you know, I hear what you're saying, and it brings back so many memories because you've created stories into such a beautiful, luxurious brand on par with the brands that you say, but it's such a tough job to keep it, you know, front of mind and at the top where you've taken it so quickly. And we had exactly that. So, you know, I'd always wanted to have the opportunity to do a full cycle from bootstrap through to exit, but I didn't know when that would come. And I thought it would be a lot later. And I thought we still had a lot to do with the brand. But, you know, when COVID hit, things got a bit difficult. And we had to be really clever with how we, you know, marketed the brand, because people didn't really need handbags during COVID, but we just had to work in different ways and market ourselves in different ways. And we kept going, and we still had the demand. And because we were, you know, championing ourselves as a great brand to gift people that would be delivered direct to their doorstep, it worked. So, but we were getting to the stage where we were thinking, you know what, we need to have an awful lot more investment. And so we were starting to think about seriously about a proper raise. And at the same time, very serendipitously, we were approached by a British brand, a really lovely British company who was interested in buying Aurora. And so we were quite shocked to think that it could happen. But it all just unfolded. The due diligence process, they had a really great vision for the brand. They really respected the brand and its DNA and wanted to uphold that. And we were like, what do we do? Do we go for a raise, or do we exit quite neatly? And, you know, Sarah and I had been through so much together. We'd worked so hard since we'd left LVMH. We'd had 4 kids, house moves, litigation, so much, you know, 2 global financial meltdowns, COVID. We were like, you know what, let's take this amazing offer and
what does it look like when you see your bags? Obviously, the company that bought Aurora London, they kept the brand DNA, etc. I'm sure you're extremely proud when you still see women with your handbag that you found it. Was there
it is the most amazing feeling, and it used to happen quite often, and it would just literally, when I approach a person and say, is that an Aurora London brand, because you don't like to assume, but you know, you could see the tags and everything, and they were like, yeah, and I'll be like, I'm one of the co-founders. It's just an incredible feeling. And I've had it recently as well. And it's really nice to know that something that we started, you know, we had this vision for a D2C handbag brand. It was very much about buy less, buy better. This was before it became, you know, a slogan. And to see that that's still going strong,
Yeah.
it's really nice.
So you had the brand for 6 years, is that correct? But
Yeah,
six.
just a little bit under 6
Yeah.
years.
So it must have been hard walking away from your baby, because I always say that stories is all about, it's like my fifth child. But, you know, so one, did you go in with you always had an exit in mind? You always knew that it wasn't going to be forever. But also then when you took that decision to leave, was that difficult? Was it a difficult decision to walk away from your baby?
A little bit. It was a little bit bittersweet. It was a bit hard, but I'm really sentimental about a few things in life, and that's the main thing is my family.
Yeah.
And to have had this opportunity to create something from scratch and do a full cycle, that was always my dream. Probably more than Sarah's. It was my dream to have an exit one day to say that I've done it. You know, I've created something and someone else wanted it. That was always my dream, but I didn't know when it would happen. But when it did come, and it came from such a great business, family-owned business that I trusted, and I felt that I was handing it over to the right people. And to be honest with you, because the due diligence process went on for quite a while, I didn't really understand it until it had happened.
Yes.
So, and then thereafter, it was a bit odd because I literally woke up one day and I had, for the first time in about 20 years, nothing to do.
Yeah. And that's when, you know, what made you then? So you said goodbye to Aurora, you passed it into really good hands, and you've enjoyed to sit back and see it grow and the brand DNA to remain. But how did you ever find what was your next step? Because I would find after 20 years of really focused on your career, and then you had co-founded two businesses, successful businesses, you're left with a free morning or a free day. What, so, you know, I'm sure you enjoyed it as well.
Oh, it was so nice. So it was really, really nice because I literally, at first I had phone Tourette's because I'd constantly be looking at my phone, but there'd be nothing to look at. So that was really weird. It was quite nice because I have small children and I'd had them through the businesses. So I was able to devote a lot more time to them and hang out with them and not feel cross every time they called me because I'd be busy working or whatever. And I felt a release in that sense. It felt quite liberating. And then I had a few months off and I didn't know what to do. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I think my head was still frazzled. So I took an opportunity with a friend who, Connie, she is the owner of Astrid and Miu, an amazingly successful jewelry brand. I mean, they're a behemoth, they're ginormous. And I took the role of head of international expansion for 5 months. As a mat cover position, and I was on her leadership team and advising her. And that was a really good opportunity to learn, to see somebody else's business. And that helped me kind of crystallize in my mind what I didn't want to do and what I did want to do next.
Yeah.
And that was really enjoyable, but it was great because it was finite. And then I've just come to the realization that, you know, I don't want an operational role anymore. I'm not in a position to start a new business yet. But I have, you know, I feel like I've got a lot of knowledge and I love helping people. I love being able to see something happen quickly. Yeah. So taking on that advisory role has been quite natural and really fun.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, you know, that you've been able to just even build experience after looking at other people's brands and being able to help them as well. So in terms of if somebody was thinking of launching a luxury goods brand, for example, what advice would you give them? What were your key findings now looking back that you go, oh, I wish I would have done that wrong another way, or I've done that really right and I would do it again? And what advice do you give your small business owners?
I think whether it's a product or a service, really make it the best you can. Don't worry too much about competition, because the market, you know, is absolutely saturated in almost every area. You know, you're always going to have competition, and there's always going to be somebody that copies you within minutes, or you're going to be copying someone else. That's just the way business works. It's a free market. And to be honest, the more competition, the better, because it makes you work harder. It's not always nice at the time, but
Yeah.
it does make you work better to create something. But create the best product or service you can. Make sure you get the product slash service market fit right. Because
Yeah.
until that's right, and until you can launch something that literally sets the world on fire,
Yeah.
don't launch it.
Yeah.
And really put it really comes down to the basics. The
Yeah.
best you can create, and get it in front of, know your target consumer. It's no good saying it's a woman who's 30 to 35 and she works. You really need to drill down on that and know everything about her, so
Yeah.
that you can really target her properly. And then once you do that, it kind of is quite easy.
Yeah. And, you know, congratulations to you. I mean, you had young children and you were building this brand as well. And I love the fact that you say, not yet. Are you ready to start another business? So there is possibility that you may do that down the line. But in terms of exiting a brand as well, if somebody also is watching and is maybe thinking of an exit plan, you know, you said you were there about 6 years with Aura. So what would you suggest would be the right time to exit? Do you have that set in mind, or is it, you know, do any advice or any findings that you can share with us?
Definitely. I think that, you know, your business has to have, you need to do it to begin with. You need to do it your own business MOT and see where you're at. A business has to be healthy and show signs of growth for somebody to be interested in wanting it. It's got to have equity. It's got to be desirable, especially if you want a healthy exit.
Yeah.
So make sure you get your house in order. Make sure your books are in order. You know, we were really meticulous about all our accounting. We use really good accountants. I think that a business needs to have an FD or really great accountants to make sure that it is running as efficiently as possible,
Yeah.
to make it a good buy. And make sure that not just then the finances, but everything else is in order. Somebody should be able to come in and buy your business and run with it quickly.
Yeah.
So your supply chain, your 3PL, those are the kind of intrinsic parts that underpin your business, to make sure they're functioning really well. Marketing, obviously, it's got to be great, but anyone can change that.
Yeah.
But the kind of fundamentals that underpin your business, get them in order and make sure everything is running as smoothly as possible. And you've got good relationships with all of those functions that you can then hand them over. I'd say that those are the key things. And then, you know, like finding your partner in life, it's got to be the right fit. So you've got to have the same vision as, you know, the company, the VC, whoever's buying you out. And it depends what your end goal is. You know, we really wanted Aurora to be continued in the same vein, you know, to use the same materials, to have the same kind of environment to buy it from, to just follow through on what we'd created. And that's what our buyer very much did. So it's just making sure that you're aligned really well and you get on. And you have the same vision.
Oh, it's fabulous. And is there anything in terms of the exit plan that you wish that you'd done better? Or are you happy? It's, you know, when I know, talking to you before, that you had said that it was really positive for you. But we all hear stories, right, for some people. But there's nothing that then feel that you would have done differently in terms of that you thought it went really well.
I think we were just it was, I always believe that if something's meant to happen, it should happen easily and well. I've always believed that. And I believe that in my business life, throughout it. And it really has manifested in that way. But we did really get a lovely buyer who was very straightforward. And the thing is, we were straightforward. So I think like attracts like. We were very transparent. We had nothing to hide. We were very open. And I think that that's what made it a really positive experience. And I think, so if anyone's looking to exit, I think to get to that stage, just get your house in order.
Yeah, fabulous. So what is next for you, Devina? You did a little bit about working with small businesses, possibility of maybe a brand down the line. But what is next for you? Because so much experience that you can help people with in your whole career. So what is next? What should we be watching out for?
I'm just, you know what, I was so kind of in the thick of it for so long. I'm really just enjoying taking a bit more of a back seat, taking on some advisory roles. I'm considering a NED role, which I really am interested in, and I think would use my skill sets really well. Spending a bit more time with my family, just taking things a bit slower. It's funny because you're a hamster on a wheel for so long, and then when you come off it, you do naturally slow down, and it's been really nice. So I think just having a bit more of a balance for a while, and then I have some really nice ideas for new businesses that I'm scoping out for the future.
Brilliant.
And let's see what happens.
Oh, well, really.
But I'm not in a rush.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And, you know, good luck with that. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do. So I just want to thank you for your time. And also, I know there's going to be lots of questions, so we'll put this on our grid. And if anybody has any questions for Devina, because we've so little time, and there's so much that I would love to pick your brain about. And so if anybody's any questions that what we touched on today, please feel free to ask Devina, and we'll get those answered for you. But we always end up with quick fire questions. And I have a few for you. I've asked them because I love your style, for one. I love your makeup, and I want to know what they all are. So it's really selfish motive. So what is your fashion style? How would you classify your style?
I think as I get older, I think I know myself a bit better than I used to. So I try to stick to really clean lines. Timeless, clean, no patterns.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. And your best beauty product that you cannot live without?
So hands down, for the last 20 years, Elizabeth Ard, Estee Lauder Advanced Night Repair.
Really?
Absolutely love it. It's one of my hero forever products that never, ever, ever goes.
Absolutely brilliant. And fashion brands for us to watch out for. Have you any up and coming that you've heard about, know about?
So I have just discovered an amazing new brand called Et Ox. So it was, I don't know if you remember, many years ago, there used to be a brand called Kushni Et Ox. And this is a spin-off of that. And it's on Net-a-Porter. It is absolutely stunning. It's just very clean, simple jersey pieces with kind of diaphanous or asymmetric cutouts, but something that you could wear, look quite cool and chic, and would last forever. I think that looks like an amazing brand. I've ordered a piece.
Oh, I'm going to be looking at that. And favorite handbag brand? Obviously not Aura. Let's name another.
I think I'm going to be really boring, but it was one of the first big bags I bought 20 years ago, and I'd say I still wear it today, so it's Chanel.
Oh, nice. And how do you unwind? And you know, I suppose maybe there's two sides to that. How did you unwind when you were right in the middle of your business? But then how do you unwind now?
So when I had the businesses, to be honest, I'll be completely honest, I never really had a good balance because I had small kids. My life was just a whirlwind. I never really had, unless we went on holiday, I never really took me time. I never had time to go to even get my nails done. I'd have to do those myself. So I didn't really have a good balance then. But now, in the last 2 years, at the beginning of lockdown, I took up Vinyasa Flow Yoga, and that has absolutely changed my life. I do that every day for 30 minutes. First thing when I wake up, and it's transformed my breathing, my digestion, my alignment, everything. I love it.
Oh, amazing. So who in the world of business influences you in a positive way?
So I think there are so many amazing champions for women. One woman that I've always looked up to and I've seen her journey is Alina Bing. She is
Oh,
absolutely incredible, such a juggernaut, and I don't know her, but she looks like an absolutely amazing woman. And I love her brand and what she's just done. Um, I also love Georgie at Sheerluxe. I've known her for many, many years. I really respect and admire her. What she's done at Sheerluxe is just incredible. And I know how hardworking she is. She's incredibly talented, but also works hard. So I really look up to her as well.
yeah, no, agreed on both accounts of both of those people. Amazing. So, country that you've traveled to?
I love traveling, and my husband's Aussie, so I did actually go to Australia before I met him, but I love going there. I love being on the other side of the world in a different time zone and completely cut off from, it feels like you're cut off from the rest of the world.
Because nobody can contact you on it. So I think that's where I need to go for a month or two. So couple of more and that's it. The best advice that you've been given you could share with women entrepreneurs?
Just go for it. If you're confident in what you've got and you think that you're 100% behind it, there's no kind of gut feeling thinking, oh, I don't know. But if you have 100% conviction in your idea and you know that you're ready to put the hard work in, absolutely go for it. But I think those two things need to be there.
Yeah.
You're either in or you're out, because unfortunately it's all consuming and there's just no time out.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to give it your all and go for it,
yeah, no, I
just do it.
Yeah,
you know,
invite for that it's so consuming. I mean, you do not get at these early days time out of a brand at all. I know even
no.
my periods of holidays or constant working, I have not taken a break even when I'm away in a family holiday.
No.
So I get that. So you really need to love what you're doing. And finally, Devina, have you got a mantra that you live by?
Yeah, it's really cheesy, but I 100% believe in this. What goes around comes around eventually.
Yeah. Well, on that note, thank you so much for joining. I know that through you, I've met a really good friend, and the one that I know that I can pick up the phone and I'll be asking you lots of questions for my journey, because you've already done it. And I know even there's been some questions that people have asked up, about do you offer advisory roles, etc. So honestly, any questions, Devina will definitely get back to you via the grid when we post this here today. Thank you so much. Love to your family.
Thank you.
I'm slightly jealous that you're maybe off to get your nails or something done.
No, the thing is that things don't change. I'm still in that mindset where, I get all my stuff done at the beginning of the day and then I'm just busy. But yeah, it is different. But, I thank you so very much.
Oh.
I'm so honoured to have come on today. And I think what you've created with stories in such a short time, shorter than Aurora, is absolutely mind-blowing. And I know that you're going to get the kind of exit that you deserve, but it is absolutely a phenomenal brand. And that's no easy feat in such a competitive industry. I worked in the fragrance industry. I know how hard it is. And what you've done is exquisite.
Oh, do you know, you're actually making me quite emotional because sometimes you don't hear that often.
No.
Who's experienced in your field, and they say that to you, it makes you feel, oh, it's worth it.
No, it is. What you've done, you can see it's a reflection of you, and it's such a beautiful brand, and it's so coherent. And so it resonates so well with our times, but it's just beautiful. And I can't wait to watch where it goes, but I have a feeling I know which direction it's going to go in.
Oh, well, you are such an inspiration. And I think I've said that at the same time, somebody else saying it. So honestly, you are so inspiring. And honestly, I wish you all your blessings of the world to you for your next in your career and life. So you take care.
Thank you. Lots of love to you.
Thank you for joining us today. And
thanks.
Bye.
Bye.